Mr. Thomas sat alone on his small porch, watching the sun sink below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. His old, wrinkled hands clutched a weathered paintbrush, though he hadn't touched a canvas in years. As he looked at the colors fading in the sky, he whispered to himself, "Once, I dreamed of painting sunsets like this." This story begins not with a young man following his dreams, but with an old man remembering the dreams he had to leave behind. When Mr. Thomas was just a boy, he would sit by the river with a small canvas, his brush dancing across the paper as he captured the world around him. Back then, he was just Tommy, a boy with a gift, a heart full of colors, and a head full of dreams. He wanted to be an artist, a great artist whose paintings would be admired in galleries, who would travel the world to capture nature's beauty and inspire others. His art teacher, Ms. Warren, noticed his talent early on. She encouraged him, saying, "Tommy, one day, people will know your name because of your art." Tommy's heart filled with hope, and he imagined a future where he would be known, respected, and celebrated for his work. But life, as it often does, had other plans. When Tommy turned 18, his father fell very ill, leaving the family without a steady income. His mother worked day and night, but it wasn't enough. Tommy knew he had to step up, so he left his art supplies in a small box under his bed and took a job at a factory. It was tiring work, and his hands, once so delicate for painting, became rough from labor. Every day, he told himself, just for a little while. Once things get better, I'll start painting again. But the years passed quickly. Tommy became Mr. Thomas, a man with a family of his own. He married a kind woman, Emma, and they had 2 beautiful children. His days were busy, filled with the responsibilities of work and family. Sometimes, late at night, he would open that old box under his bed and look at his brushes, feeling a deep ache in his heart. His dream of becoming an artist felt like a distant memory, something from another life. One winter night, Emma noticed him sitting by the window, looking lost in thought. She gently touched his shoulder and asked, "What's on your mind, Thomas?" He looked down, embarrassed. "I used to want to be an artist," he said softly. "But life had other plans for me." Emma smiled, understanding the sacrifice he had made for their family. "You may not be famous," she said, "but you've created a beautiful life for us. That's an art in itself." Years turned into decades, and Mr. Thomas grew older. His children grew up, went to college, and started their own families. He was proud of them, but the feeling of a missing piece in his heart never truly went away. He had spent his entire life giving to others, and now, as an old man, he wondered if he had anything left to give to himself. One bright summer day, Mr. Thomas was sitting on his porch when he met a young boy named Sam, who had just moved to the neighborhood. Sam was full of energy, and he loved to draw. He would sit by Mr. Thomas's side, eagerly showing him his sketches. Mr. Thomas could see himself in the young boy's eyes, full of dreams and hope. They became close friends, and Mr. Thomas would often share tips with him, guiding him with a quiet wisdom born of years of missed dreams. One day, Sam brought a drawing of a sunset to show Mr. Thomas. It was simple, but it captured the warmth and colors beautifully. Mr. Thomas felt his heart swell with emotions. "You're very talented, Sam," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You remind me of someone I once knew, me." Sam's eyes lit up with curiosity. "You wanted to be an artist, Mr. Thomas?" "Yes," he replied, his voice distant, as if remembering a life he had almost forgotten. "Once, I dreamed of painting sunsets just like this one. But dreams, sometimes they slip away." Sam looked at him thoughtfully. "But, Mr. Thomas, you still have time. Why don't you start now?" The words hit Mr. Thomas like a wave. Start now? He hadn't picked up a brush in so many years. His hands trembled just thinking about it. But Sam's innocence and encouragement stirred something within him, a spark that had long been buried. That evening, as the sun set over the horizon, Mr. Thomas went inside and found the old box with his paints and brushes, now faded and dusty. His hands shook as he took out the brush, feeling its weight. Memories of his younger self filled his mind, and with a deep breath, he dipped the brush in paint and started to work on a blank canvas. The strokes were unsteady at first, his hands unused to the gentle touch required for painting. But as he continued, a sense of calm washed over him. He painted for hours, lost in the colors, the textures, the simple joy of creating something beautiful. The next morning, as Sam visited, he saw the painting, a beautiful, vibrant sunset. "That's amazing, Mr. Thomas." Sam's eyes were wide with admiration. "You're a real artist." Mr. Thomas smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, he realized that he didn't need fame or galleries to fulfill his dream. All he needed was a canvas, a brush, and the courage to start. As weeks turned into months, Mr. Thomas painted every day. Soon, people in the town started noticing his work, and some even asked him to paint for them. He wasn't famous, but he was finally living his dream, creating art and sharing it with those around him. And in teaching Sam, he found a purpose, passing on the love of art to a new generation. One day, as they sat together, Sam asked, "Mr. Thomas, are you sad that you couldn't be an artist when you were young?" Mr. Thomas looked at the boy, a soft smile on his face. "Maybe a little," he replied. "But life taught me that it's never too late to follow your dreams. Sometimes, they come true in ways we never expected." And so, Mr. Thomas continued to paint, passing on his legacy, and reminding everyone around him that dreams are never really lost. They are just waiting for the right time to come alive.